Morning, I'm Deinna. This morning we're in Deinna's sewing room, and the project for today is to get her some more light above the sewing machine. We found this fixture at the big box store. It's 3 hanging lights. They have some nice cord on them, and I'm just going to mount them from a box that I'll mount to the ceiling and hang them directly above the light above the sewing machine for her, so that she'll have some light to see what she's working on. So let's go out to the shop and get started. Well, we're out in the shop now, and so far I've got this pretty well worked out. I will show you some of the cut procedures that I did on this, but otherwise it's just some basic cutting of wood, and I'm sure you've seen that enough on other videos. This is 4 3/4 inches high. The total length is 47.5 inches, and it's going to be 7 inches wide. I have these 3 spaced out already, and I'll show you how that I cut the holes for these. What I'm going to do is mount a 3/4 inch piece of plywood on the ceiling that will fit inside this cutout. And once it's mounted, then I'll put some screws into that piece of plywood to hold this unit up in the air. And this is how the unit's the lights are gonna mount to the box and then hang from the cord. Pretty simple construction. It's just dadoed together on the corners. The most difficult part was cutting these stop dados in the sides so that they didn't run through the end, and I'll show you how I did that on the table saw. So it was pretty simple construction. One of the problems with making the holes for these boxes there's really no easy way to take a measurement off of it, because their 3 tabs are evenly spaced around the perimeter. There's no way to measure it, and if you can see how little area there is to actually act as a flange, this is pretty easy when you're using drywall, because you can kind of cut a notch out where these pieces go, and the hole doesn't have to be that exact, and once these tabs come out, it gets a good hold of it. So when I cut these, they had to be very accurate as far as making just enough room for that to go in there and still have enough room for the flange. Normally what I would have done is cut a template like this out of a piece of hardboard, and then just cut this out as close as I could with a saber saw or something like that, just to rough it out, put the template on it, and run a router around it with a following bit that would have followed the template and cut the hole perfect size. The problem with that is that if it's not really accurate, you've got to go through this process and cut another one, make another template, sand it, get it smooth, test it out. I have a new machine that helped me a lot with making these holes, and I'll show it to you now. This is my new machine. It's a CNC machine. It's called a computer numerically controlled router. And what it will do is, I'll show you the software. The software creates a program and it runs the router according to the program. The first thing I did was I cut a test hole, which was 4 inches, 4.109 inches, and it was too small. So I increased the size of the, on the software, I increased the size to 4.30, and this fit in there with a lot of tolerance in it. It was too loose. So what I did was I corrected the program to 4.175, and that gave me a pretty comfortable fit. I was happy with that. Didn't have too much movement in it, but yet the tabs could go around and work pretty well. This is actually a hole cutout from one of the tests, and what it does is you can put little tabs in there so this piece doesn't come loose and get thrown out of the machine. The machine is quite versatile. It'll cut almost anything you can program into it. This is a hold down that goes in the table and just tightens things up. This was a program that I downloaded from the web, and it cut this block out of a piece of plastic, cut this slot in it, and so I can make as many of these as I want. I have the program and it'll repeat it. One of the other things that I did do on my own was that I cut this hole out. These are kneelers, garden kneelers, that hold the garden kneeling pad, help you get up and down. These come out really well, and we're very pleased with using them. So I will get this started. What's going to happen here is the router is sitting in its home position. There's an X marked here on the thing, on the piece of sample plywood, and it's also mounted on with a sacrificial board in case when the router bit cuts through, it doesn't cut into the aluminum table. So what it's going to do is it's going to start making passes. It'll make a slow pass at first, then it'll keep increasing it, and as it gets down near the bottom, it will also rise up and leave these little tabs in there so that the piece doesn't come loose. I'll now show you how I cut the stop dado in the side panels. First I cut the ends. The first thing I had to do was determine where the stop and start marks were going to be to cut this so that it ended up not cutting through the end cuts that I made in the side panel. So you can see there's a little left right here that'll have to be chiseled out, but it worked out really good. After I cut the end slots, I then put this on the table and dropped it down onto the blade, pushed it forward till I got to the end mark, then lifted it up. So that's what I'm going to do with this piece to show you how it works. So you can see there's just a little bit that has to be chiseled out, but I didn't go through the ends, which is a good thing. So that's how I made the side panel. Pretty simple. Just be careful, it's kind of a dangerous procedure with your fingers that close to the blade. Well, I found a piece of wood that'll work for what I'm going to mount to the ceiling. I need to trim it down a little bit and run it through the saw so you actually see me cut some wood today. I've cut this down, got it to fit. So this is going to be the top portion. This is going to be attached to the ceiling. And like I said, I put screws in through the sides to hold it to the ceiling. Going to take it outside, give it a coat of primer, and then Deinna's going to take care of painting it.